You're amazing. On to the second game of playoffs. First day of playoffs, summer split. It seems like X7 have the number of Bifrost. It seems like a hard one. Bifrost picked red side yet again. Merbs, if you pick red side, if you had this first game, what can you do to make it different? Give me knowledge.
I think they just need to do kind of the same, but just try to pick more early game. I think they went too ham on the scaling and just had no reply on what X7 wanted to do.
You know Shikari.
Yeah.
So you think Shikari could pick something for the early game and make sure of, hey Viking, you want to camp bot lane? I'll make Shacy pay for that.
Yeah, I think that's something they should do and just try to surprise them in a way.
Interesting. What do you believe should be the answer for Bifrost versus X7?
I mean, for me, I'm very much looking at counterpicking the mid lane. I think that would be very interesting. I want to see Fury on like a champion that he feels comfortable with, like an assassin where he knows the matchup, where he knows it's going to be good. So for me, blind the top lane, lock in Theon, lock in one of the, maybe the Nara as well, one of these early game blind pickable champions who is also able to play the team fights later on, and then you allow Fury to get a good matchup. For me, the Poppy as well was a huge problem. Viking, it didn't look like it was his first rodeo on that champion. I'm going to say that for sure. And he got a 100% win rate on it right now. So for me, either ban that or lock it in yourself, because that champion is very, very strong at the moment, and we know Diamond Prox can play it well.
I will say Viking to me is a scary jungler.
Yeah,
He's
he
really,
is a
really
Viking.
scary. I was so surprised at the beginning of the split that he didn't join NLC or any sort of ERL. I was like, where's Viking? He's a monster in the jungle. Well, he's here for X7, but now we need to know. We need to know where the chat believes is going to take the second game. Show me the percentage for Twitch chat. Who do you believe it's going to win? Calm down!
That is losing faith quickly, man. It's been one game. I know it was a rough game. It was a very rough game.
It's going higher!
I convinced them.
You convinced them?
12%.
Oh yeah, you said 80!
This is even more than 80. This is almost 90%. I mean, where are the Bifrost faithfuls out there? I'm going to say,
They gone.
they might have lost very quickly and it did look bad, but they showed signs of life. And if they can adapt well going into the second game, I think this game will at the very least be way closer. It's all down to the draft in my eyes. I know the players of Bifrost are capable of showing up, but let's be honest, X7 are a well-oiled machine at the moment. They are looking very good.
So start that champion select for me, Duckling.
I'm new.
Champion select for the second game of playoffs, X7 versus Bifrost. Reminding all of you, X7 finished the split in third place. They were the one picking Bifrost as opponents for today as we jump into this second one. It could be a match point in favor of X7 if they win this one. Wukong is going to be taken away yet again. Talia the same. Kalista, so far, same bans for both teams. Yumi, get it out. Take it out of the game. Can we expect anything different though from Bifrost?
Maybe the Poppy ban can come here.
I really want the Draven ban still though, so I feel like now you're sitting in a situation, either allow the Poppy to be first picked or ban the Draven, because then the Draven can get first picked. They change it to the Poppy, so that's what is screaming out in my ass now. Yes, you ban the Poppy, that is very nice, but there is now a Draven open. I think if X7 lock it in, I want Bifrost to have a good plan of how they can deal with this Draven. Otherwise, I would be very scared, but maybe X7, they're like, the Zarya went fine. Why shouldn't we just go for it again?
Zarya is kind of strong nowadays, isn't she, Merbs?
Yeah, a bit.
Do you know of any sort of AD carry that can deal with the Zarya right now? Do you think a failures for OD could be an answer?
Yeah, I actually think so. I think Aphelios is one of few that can actually punish and match the scaling pretty well.
Yeah.
There you go.
It is like
that. The Tamkench too is a really good duo with Aphelios.
So the perfect bot lane for Bifrost. A good way to reply to this one. Viking, we're waiting. There's no Poppy. There's no Wukong. He still has the Akram if he wants. But they can look into that strong bot lane. The Renata with the Zeri. It's going to be a menace. And you already know, if you get the failures with that ultimate, oi, you're gone.
That's going to be very strong. One thing that I want to look at now is the junglers. What will be happening here? that in my eyes is the most interesting because we're looking for some early game junglers. The Trundle, the jungler played last game, is still available. Has a lot of good to offer up against the tank, but you know, Jarvan is playable too, and he's a good investment right now, using time into him. He's already playable, and he will be even stronger if you make it to EU Masters on 12-14, but they prioritize the mid lanes for now, so that the Azir this time over to Tempt, and the Ahri is still open, so I think Fury might just take the other side of the matchup. He just played him.
Good way to swap the mid laners right now. We know Fury plays this Ahri. He has been tremendously powerful with this pick. It could be the one for the Fury, and there we go. Now we're talking about that one. Bifrost have access to a counter pick on the top side. They should go for that one.
Yeah, I think so. I think they should go for the counter pick on top side because I think they should just ban junglers here and try to shorten out the champion pool of Viking and just try to get the stable one now. So I think it's looking good for Bifrost so far.
If you see Viking, and if you know he's going to play for your bot lane, you have to deal with him. What sort of champions would you like to see banned versus him?
Obviously, Viking is a Rek'Sai player, I think. So
yeah,
that's something I would be aware of. Jumping over the walls is not something you want to face. But yeah, I don't know what else they should ban, honestly.
Trundle is the first one. Let's see what they take on the other side. It's going to be the Bel'Veth. We've seen Diamondprox piloting that one, but it seems like it's not going to be today, or at least on the second game. Duckling, what are your thoughts?
Jungle pool is just getting trimmed further and further. You mentioned the Rek'Sai.
is available.
I could see that. Yes, Hecarim, but he isn't really the exact early game jungler that you would want. In my opinion, there are better choices. Yes, he can work in the early game, but the J4 is open. The Rek'Sai, two champions that both of these junglers have played a lot throughout their long competitive careers now. So for me, those are the two obvious junglers left, and if one of those gets banned, it's definitely going to be high priority to the other one, because then you're having to go deep into your champion ocean, deep into the meta as well for junglers, and really dig something out.
Vi removed as well. That was the first one that Viking used, but he's going to be the one banning it away. The pick has to be for Bifrost. The counter pick would be the jungle. That would be an interesting take on the red side.
I don't like this from Bifrost. I think they should have gone jungler here, definitely.
Maybe they're afraid of seeing Chasey on the Gnar.
Yeah,
Does it earlier? We've seen Chasey play it earlier.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. I think the Gnar definitely works. As you say, yes, Chasey can go the Aurelia, but I think you just saw how strong the Gnar is in a neutral matchup where he can just get time to scale and build up a little bit of a lead. So if they get that again, I mean, then it's just flip the top lane matchup we just saw, but now it's Shikari doing the exact same to Chasey. So that's really what we're waiting for here. They're hurrying a lot of different things, so very hard to tell.
He's playing a lot of Yone too. So.
Yeah, Yone. Oh, yeah, you mentioned it first, the Aurelia. So, yes.
I know everybody tried to forget that game, because it was a nightmare to begin with, but this guy, you brought in the earlier versus a Gnar. That was rough.
Yeah.
Rough. And
there's the Rek'Sai. Is it locked?
It is not locked yet. I can still see the timer running down, but that's one of the last strong junglers, right? And it's a very good counter to a lot of other things, but could go for something like the Xin Zhao. So that means Rek'Sai is still open, Jarvan is still open if you're looking for some early game junglers. Those are the main two I would look at. If you're going down the meta list as well, the Lee Sin can be played. It's going to be very weak later on, but if you want the early game, the Nocturne as well, that's not really as strong early, but level 6, you just get a massive spike in your early game presence, and if you get some good ultimates early on, it's gonna help a lot, and Diamondprox will be going towards that, so he's gonna be power farming until level 6, and then he's gonna be all over the map.
So until level 6, there's a big window for Viking to make the lives of Bifrost really complicated. Where do you think this champion select goes for, Marbs? Who do you think has the lead on this one?
I would favor X7 again.
Okay.
I think they have some room of fighting back with the Nocturne, trying to surprise on side lanes and making picks. But it's still looking rough, I think.
It's still a complicated one.
Yeah.
What about you? Who do you favor?
I'm tired of going with the easy pick. I like a lot of what Bifrost has done here. I am gonna go with them. They're gonna go out there, they're gonna win the game, they're gonna tie it up at 1-1, and we're gonna have a banger series ahead of us for the rest of the evening.
Sweet innocent child. It's going to be Bifrost versus X7 for the second day, for the second game of the first day of playoffs. It's time to send it to the casters. Initialize, trouble, Nocturne for Diamondprox.
It's an LCL special. Used to play that all the time back on Gambit over there. Of course, it's something we've seen from Dan over here. A little bit in the LPL, a little bit in the LCK.
Three durability pads, though, that we saw it in the NLC. Post durability pads, we've not really seen it in our league.
Not in our league. It's kind of cropped its head up a little bit around the world. T1 nearly got a win against Gen G on Saturday against it, but couldn't quite close it out. But that's about it. Not a huge amount around here. I've cast a little bit of it over in the LJL. That's about it. But we were both sat here on this desk, basically saying, look, Bifrost could not handle the side lanes last game. They lost so much goals, so much pressure from dealing with it. The Nocturne basically says, screw you trying to split push, I'm going to turn up and murder you every single time.
So Nocturne's pretty much punish the Inter that has overextended on a side
Punish
lane.
the Inter.
Punish the Inter champion. Everything goes dark as very shortly as well. We're going to be moving into our next game, and we can talk about Nocturne in depth.
And the lights go out, and the stage is set for our second game of this series. X7 dominated game 1, but can Bifrost bounce back? Let's find out as we head onto the Rift.
Back onto that Nocturne statement and the punishing the Inters and the side lanes.
Yes.
I'd love to talk about side lanes.
Do.
Because I feel like Chasey was a member from X7 coming into summer, replacing Jaeger from spring. And we're all wondering, we're talking about Challenger's career, how strong he was, how he liked to play, all of these aggressive fighters, assassins, tops of the map, fight you in your face, get that counter pick and shine. We didn't necessarily see that much towards the very beginning of the split. But right now, ever since Viking again has joined, there's a lot more freedom playing for this side lane, especially since you have Tempt roaming as well. As you can see, he sees difference at 10. He's 17.
That's very impressive.
That is 3 waves up.
That's huge.
3 waves up his opponent, and actually he pulls out so much damage as well. He pulls about 100 less than what we saw from OD.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
Because OD is someone who gets resources and plays the AD carries, the hyper carries, the Aphelios, the Twitches. So, honing in onto the top lane matchup, Shikari told us in an interview that Na is one of the most blind pickable champions because now with the durability patch, he was given that extra HP in his mid-enough form to not be as abusable and as diveable as he used to be prior into champions like a Camille, into champions like an Aurelia that we're seeing right now.
Indeed. And
now,
also,
the case is...
Oh, go on, finish FL before I go on this little history bent.
Shikari has been a little bit volatile in lanes. Now, of course, when you're picking an Ornn into a Na, you expect to lose. This is why you're picking the Ornn. You pick the Ornn for the later on scaling. You're picking on to give it ornaments and so on and so forth. You're going to lose. The question has always been, can Chasey translate all this gold that he has in his pocket into a map win for X7? And so far towards the latter stages of the split has been a yes. Previous game, it was a yes. He used it, he took the nut, transitioned into team fights with big ultimates, catching people off guard. Hell, the last team fight that really turned the game around for X7 was him flanking on a TP ward. So, all eyes on this guy who, yet again, from blue side, gets counter pick.
Does indeed. It was the blind pick now 4th to allow for this Nocturne jungle option, which is a pivot from Bifrost, but obviously they needed to shift something up because they were struggling in that last game. We saw some attempts at plays, but highways in weird spots, and the team was kind of moving away when people were flashing in. It was all looking a little bit off kilter. And this is an attempt now to stabilize it.
Oh, but look at what Viking has done. Red to Wraiths to Grom. Quickest level 3 towards the top side of the map, and he's gonna go straight into that invade. If I'm not wrong, I think it was spotted by Diamond Prox. It's gonna be all up to these mid laners to move first. Both the jungles are level 3, but Chasey from the top side of the map moving into the jungle means that Diamond Prox might actually have to give up that buff, or he might end up losing his blue as well. And this is the problem that you run when you're running a jungler such as Nocturne, who might end up losing even more actually right here. He might be able to smite away his big chicken.
He's gonna have to. That's so sad. Can't even clear out the rest of the camp, but this has been the Bifrost problem. It's been Diamond's disaster. Will land the Endless Nightmare, though. I suppose that's not quite what the ability is. I call it Endless Nightmare. It's not actually what it is.
Talking about mid lane, and who's gonna walk in first? Fury was 1 HP for the longest time. So he couldn't be the one walking in first. So again, you see Viking, prior top, prior mid, ends up invading, has his top laner joining first. Mid lane for Bifrost cannot move. That means top quadrant of the jungle is no go for Nocturne. And why is it so important for Nocturne? It's because he's level 6 is the level that is very pivotal for him. He cannot just show up to a lane and gank like this. He wants to turn lights off and dive deep. Usually a Nocturne would be a side lane ganking champion that you want to catch people off guard, you want to pull off dives with. But if you do manage to extend his farming time towards that level 6, then that Zinza could pull off a few ganks of himself and get some laners ahead.
Yeah, and honestly, it's been a Diamond issue, really, where he's not always had that priority in lane, and teams like X7, like Viking, have been really good at basically punishing the lack of lane priority to come in and do what they just did there. Force Diamond off his red buff, fight him at his Raptors. There's nothing you can do there as a Nocturne.
Absolutely, and they know how pivotal he also is to his team. The fact that, you know, we have the meme, well, Bifrost is gonna gank you 2, 3, 4. 3 things are certain in this life. Bifrost ganking death and taxes, you know? So yeah, the fact that you slow him down, you put him on a level 6 champion, kind of sort of turns down the tempo of the game from Bifrost, which is not necessarily a bad thing right here, because you can get that level 6 onto Fury, try to roam the map. Talking about roaming, one of our heaviest roamers in the NLC has been 10th, and he usually does pick champions that want to roam the Lissandras, the Ares, the Talias. Now he's been put back onto a champion like the Azir. Last time we saw him play Azir, to a great extent, I want to say, was at EU Masters. And I personally said, when I saw him pick that, I'm like, oh, come on, man. Azir, what a Resident Sleeper pick. And he pulls off like level 3 1v1.
Yeah, exactly, and getting like insane shuffles. Like, the guy still roams on Azir. He does incredible stuff. And obviously, we saw Fury in the last game, and we weren't all that impressed with his ability to find the defensive shuffles, or in fact, some aggressive ones either. It felt a little bit of a non-factor.
Shuffles in general.
Yeah, as Diamond using, of course, that Shroud to try and force an early Dragon, will secure it. Remember, Singh has no flash, does have the Ignite, and Bifrost really want this fight. They've got Crescendum, but Highway being dragged back, and he has to flash over the wall. He's going the wrong way. Now Tempter slides after him. There is nowhere to go, and that will be first blood going to Attila's Zeri.
And where does this start from? You're shoving in mid, you're moving Tempt first. Tempt is level 6, you can walk into the bot side river, and again for Highway, his positioning has been a little bit questionable. Once with the Lulu in game of 1, and now with the Tam Kent. If you do lose, very nice smite right there from Diamond Prox, if you do lose your Tam Kent, your fellas can't play the game. Your fellas can literally walk forward and start throwing these auto attacks, knowing that you have the safety of your Tam Kent, especially after that level 6 where you get the Devour. You lose the Tam Kent, you lose the front line, you call the fight off. Now, again, all eyes on these junglers. Level 4 for Diamond Prox. He's fallen an entire level behind, and that's due to the fact that X7 used their priority so well to choke him out of his jungle early on.
Does clean up that level discrepancy though by getting a hold of those Krugs and keeping the CS at least relatively even. But of course, you've got to remember, Viking still has a whole quadrant of the jungle to farm, and Diamond just doesn't have that. We'll have a bit of a respawn on the blue side, but that's still a little ways off. And as it stands, the early Dragon does go the way of Bifrost, but right now X7 once again up a healthy amount of gold, once again able to buy a cull on their AD carry, once again looking like they're in a very good position in this game. And while we've got a minute or so until that Herald spawns, it's worth reminding people that both of these teams had very similar trajectories across their existences. Bifrost mid-table in 2020 in the Norwegian League, then go to 2021, where they become a monster team in the Norwegian seed. Go to Telia Masters in spring, win it there, come back in the summers, well, get to the semi-finals there and do a pretty good job as well. They come into NLC, beating X7 in the lock-in tournament, then have a really great spring split, go to EU Masters, get to quarterfinals. It's been a story of success for this squad. And then in summer...
But you're getting your support and jungle change. Duel and Seaboy suddenly became Highway and Diamond Prox. And even though in any analyst's eyes, we thought this was going to be an upgrade, it feels like Bifrost have lost their identity altogether because support and jungle is your engine, are the two roles that are gonna get your game rolling so much. And I think particularly part of that problem is that Highway and Diamond Prox have not necessarily linked up way too much together. I feel like Odd and Highway have had a better laning phase altogether in the 2 versus 2, but if you don't link up as support and jungle, and your mid lane and top lane usually are very volatile and fall apart to ganks, it's really difficult to just play for the bot lane if you're Diamond Prox, especially since Odie is playing Aphelioses, Sennas, Jinxes, things that want to scale into the later stages of the game. We saw him in game 1, he tried to pull off some ganks in the bot lane that were unsuccessful, ended up falling behind. You need more routes to play through, and right now you have Shikari on the Mega Na. He can pull off some ganks, he can give you the setup. Level 6 right now to Diamond Box. You've got Fury with a level 8 as well. Start roaming towards the sides, take down these threats early on.
Now available for some paranoia, but Chase has gone forwards, and that means there's a turnaround available. He's gone deep. The Vanguard's edge still lands, but what about the damage back? There's just nowhere to go. He's fleeing from the unspeakable horror of it all, and he'll fall down to the Nocturne. Great first gank.
That was very well done. Diamond Box was hovering the right side of the map, and right as Shikari is about to hit Elina.
Gonna attempt to turn this one, but of course Diamond still got some ways out of this. Gonna flash forward for the knock-up. Shikari nearly at Mega. Does get the shuffle back though, and Diamond will die. Nice attempt at the Herald is swiftly punished by X7.
Fury's coming in, he does have flash, he does have his ultimates available. They can actually walk towards that Rift Belt because Chasey doesn't have TP to join them quickly, and all in all, it's going to be a trade 1-for-1. Fury a little bit slow right there with the teleport, had to sit in base because of that HP, because of his HP bar was pretty low when he backed. But again, we'll see. Shikari is shoving in a wave, and beautiful timing actually from Chasey. Sees the Minina, freezes his wave right there as well. He's like, it's a win-win scenario. But you do not count for the Nocturne. Nocturne is a champion that a lot of people, I think we had maybe Aragon talk about this or MTS. They were like, you kind of forget that Nocturne exists on the map up to the point where like, oh
yeah.
shoot. He's literally on top of me. So really good stuff for them from Diamond Prox, hovering that top side of the map, getting the kill for himself as well, setting up himself for success.
Of course, nice attempt at the punish there that does succeed. Costs some flash, costs some ultimates, but they do get the kill back. They can't get the Herald, though, because of those health bars and ability discrepancies, so the Herald's still on the table, still unclaimed as it stands.
Yeah, and look at that now. It is literally a fight on who's going to push that mid lane wave faster, because in 5 seconds, that dragon is spawning, and you definitely want to be having more members into that river. Now, how do you get that? You get that by shoving in that wave and having someone from the opponent team having to commit to push that wave back. As you should tempt, he's going to walk over towards that mid lane as well. Fury has to respond with that, which means that everyone is going to dissipate from the play and go back into their lanes until there's one catch. You see, Nocturne all back out.
Gets the charm, and the Paranoia's back off cooldown. Won't quite get the kill, though. Oh, my days. That is inches away. A flash, a Spirit Rush from Fury would claim it. They just don't care because they'll take that HP lead and try and fight this one out. Viking still thinking about going in here. It's not quite done yet. Got to head forwards. Crescent Guard out. But Diamond now in a dangerous position. Remember, still does not have the flash. Needs to keep hopping forward. Fury has got the Spirit Rush. The hostile takeover will force both members of Bifrost to be berserk. But the Devour keeps him alive. Attila's gone forwards, though. But Diamond with the shield is winning this one out. Odie's not here yet. Attila, rather, has to flash to the Wolf Pit. Gets a kill via the old truck laser, but now he's throwing it back, and Attila now in a difficult position. He will be abyssal dived onto Odie, looking for an auto. Will not happen. A shutdown comes the way of Tempts, or Furies, I apologize. I'm so used to seeing the Fox on the other side of the rift.
And X7 overreach right there. You see that your Azir is out of the play, but he has teleport. Give him a few seconds to go back into base, regen his HP and TP back into the play, and you have one more member on the rift because that Nocturne ultimate is down. We talked about this. If Nocturne doesn't have an ult, he cannot play the fights, he cannot dive the backline, but he doesn't have to. If the backline literally dashes onto you, and you can actually play your game like this. Audi also hitting through the wall. They capitalize on a kill onto Viking. If I'm not wrong, I think Audi, no, he didn't get that one. It was Fury onto the Ari, who nets himself a kill. Very importantly, look at the items. Kraken Slayer for Audi. I'll talk about this in a bit because I think Diamondprox is looking for an opportunity right there. But I've been criticizing a lot of Aphelios is not building Gale Force. But when you have next to you a Brom or a Tam Kent, go for the Kraken Slayer, go for the max damage output, and expect your teammate to bail you out of sticky situations.
Diamond just ensuring Shikari is an easy way to shove in, all the while the Dragon was taken on the other side of the rift, and Diamond will now be spotted and on vision. A huge amount succeeded there, but they will use this pressure in topside to move over to that Herald and finally secure it. Not a huge amount of time, though, on the plates, though, so I don't actually know whether they really want to take it. In fact, they're just going to skip away from it, so not a lot gained in general.
Right here, I don't really think it's worth the investment because your bot lane is being threatened by a dive, so you definitely want to be hovering towards the bots of the map to try and turn it around. Nocturne ultimate is up and available. You definitely want to be using this on cooldown. Somebody who had an excellent usage of Nocturne ultimate was when Bwipo was swapped into the jungle, and this man would literally push it on cooldown.
It's on cooldown again because they've used it one more time. A cleanse has to be used, and they'll get over the wall, but Attila forced away from the river.
Yeah, and that was an ultimate for Nocturne, for a cleanse for Attila. It's fine for now because he will have his ultimate up and available really soon, about 2.5 minutes left onto this cooldown. But what happens here is that Attila actually has to back, meaning that he might be losing in these 4 creeps that are going to be crashing underneath his tower right now. So really well done for Diamondprox. Again, he gets it off cooldown. He uses the ultimate instantly. As you will see again, it's almost on, off cooldown again. So expect a lot of these Nocturne ultimates. Again, if somebody overextends, you play Spot the Inter with Nocturne. Whoever overextends, you go down there and punish. Diamondprox has his eyes onto Kasing, who has no flash available to him, and neither does Attila.
No, they don't. This time they managed to keep the Zeri a little bit more down. Odie in a much more powerful position this time around. Running the Kraken Slayer, knowing he's got a bit more safety. Raw damage for this Aphelios to try and make sure he can contend with X7. All the while that Diamondprox was down the bot side, though, you saw Tempt and Viking head in, steal away that whole red side quadrant for the Nocturne. Not a lot that could be done with both solo laners shoved in for Bifrost.
Yeah, and what we need to keep an eye here is that X7 are handshaking on late game scaling and front to back. You've got a Zinzao that's going to pop his ultimate and sit in the front line and tank a bunch of that damage for you. You've got Tempt onto the Azir with a bunch of shuffles. He can get people away from his area and allow Attila to put down the damage. And if that doesn't work, you're walking into an Aurelia. Walking as 2 melees into an Aurelia. She's going to have an absolute party.
Dangerous.
Stacking in her passive, getting that ultimate onto 2 members and start rolling with these dashes. So X7 are handshaking here. They're literally telling Bifrost, we can play the team fights better than you. So far though, the early game has gone pretty even for both. You mentioned it, Odie has gone through that laning phase completely unbothered. Locked in his first item, going towards the top side of the map now to get yet another tower to his name. And as you can see, the team is actually hovering around him. Diamondprox with the ultimate up. Highway glued literally onto all these Aphelios to try and protect him from any ganks.
Diamond's about to back, so I think they're just going to cede this Herald, decide it's not worth the fight, especially with Chasey at level 11. Might be a risk to take that one in a 3v5. All the while, though, it's given time for Shikari to shove in this bot side wave. And that'll be their trade, but it's still going to be X7 with the objective to their name.
Very good stuff right there. You don't really literally lose anything, because usually when we look at Rift Trials, we're like, okay, but what have you lost on the map to allow yourself to use all that time and resource towards that Rift Trial? Not much was lost apart from bot lane. Shikari did shove in that bot lane really hard. Chasey has lost a couple of minions right there, but it's not a big deal because Chasey is still ahead in that CS battle between him and Shikari. Again, though, you see that mostly right now Bifrost is hovering around Odie, making sure that Aphelios stays safe. Viking, though, lurking around that mid lane.
Wow, who'll go in, but just gets an Everfrost active out of Fury. Not too much more, but now Diamondprox and Highway looking to try and punish the Paranoia's down. And with Viking having got over the wall, he's in danger. The charm comes out, the shuffle comes out, flash forward for Diamondprox to try and get the unspeakable horror. It'll force a flash away, but Bifrost will get out.
Tiny bit of a misplay right there from Diamondprox. Had he used the fear on Viking, Viking was dead because he had no flash. There was one more charge onto Fury's Ari, but I think because Tempt and Viking were literally on top of each other, it's really difficult to differentiate the target right there to pop down the fear, which means that both Viking and Tempt managed to get out scot-free. But Diamondprox, very importantly, blows his flash. Highway also blows his flash. That was an attempt to kill X7, and Bifrost in the process have lost more themselves.
Unfortunately for them, it's going to come just before this dragon's about to spawn as well. Will make things a little bit more difficult if they do want to fight that. That Paranoia in particular being down is such a huge tool for Bifrost. Of course, down the shuffle, down the Crescent Guard. Big deal for them as well, as Kasing is actually hatching a ward here. So he needs to be a little afraid. The Tongue Lash goes wide. And Highway might still look for this one, though. Gets into the backside of this Attila. Sparks goes over the wall. There's the hostile takeover. Viking trying to come down as well. And Chasey and Viking both here will force Bifrost to retreat towards the tower. Wind becomes lightning strikes a little wide. And they'll get out of there this time around.
The thing is, they have 3 members on the top side of the map for the side of Bifrost, and the rest are towards the bot side, which are doing the Dragon right now. Literally, if X7 as a unit sprinted down bot, they would find a Shikari and a Fury doing this Dragon. Although it's just going to be Viking, not much to be done because the Dragon will already be going down. Bifrost early game. Not the cleanest.
Oh, Highway, you can't be there, my boy. That's going to be a lot of damage. A 3-level discrepancy.
Hey, Zouty.
Yeah, it gets out of there. I genuinely thought there was a world where there's a flash and an ultimate, and that's a dead Highway, but decides against that this time around.
Jace has been responsible with their resources. We don't want to be throwing away any more deaths right now. Talking about deaths and kills, this has been a relatively low kill game. We've got 6 kills at about 19 minutes in. And again, that's because X7 have chosen to handshake on that scale. And you've got Aphelios on one side. They've got Attila Zeri on the other. Attila is more than happy to go fully towards that late game and start putting down this damage. And on the other hand, you also have Azir on your side of your X7. 2 very hard scaling carries, 1 AD, 1 AP. So you definitely are happy to go towards the later stages of the game. Plus, Bifrost have a Nocturne. Nocturne is like a ticking clock. You're very relevant in the early game. You're semi-relevant in the mid game, which means you will dive the backline. You might get a kill, but you will most likely die. And towards that late game, you're more like a lights-out sort of bot, where you want to deprive people of a vision and maybe get a flank with Fury and Shikari to break apart.
Punish a longer lane if you can, once the map opens up a bit more in those later stages.
Punish the Inter.
Yeah, punish the Inter. Exactly that. And of course, Chasey has played the Aurelia one time before, had a rough time in lane, but then came back with the assistance of some Yumi gaming, where...
Oh, no, I just remembered the game.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
was
I apologize for bringing back some slightly traumatic memories, but it was a very deadly turnaround. But Chasey was punishable on the Aurelia. He did look for those 1v1s and got a little bit punished for them in those early and mid-game stage of the game. But Diamond, with the paranoia available again, he's not been afraid to pull the R button, but won't use so this time. Been trying to continue to defend Shikari as that Aurelia was looking for those 1v1s throughout the game.
Again, one of the best uses that I've seen of the Paranoia, because I was cut off last time, was when Wipo role swapped jungle and he brought out his Nocturne. The guy would press Paranoia on a cooldown. Whether he would go in or not, that was up to the enemies to find out. But he would literally push it on cooldown, and that would play a mental game with your opponent. Is the Nocturne coming in? And if he's not, where is he? And when is he gonna come in? Because when you understand that 50-50, he's gonna go in and he's not, you start playing mental games with yourself, figuring out whether the Nocturne is gonna engage or not, especially when you don't have vision. So Diamondprox has been doing a pretty similar game where very close to whenever he has it off cooldown, he will press it and go in. Right here, they're trying to get sole control of that mid lane tower. There's only 2 members right now for X7 that Bifrost can see, but they've brought 4 to the party. They're looking at that mid lane tower, but it's pretty dangerous when Viking is around and Chasey has to pee.
I was thinking about heading into that river bush, but I think wisely backs away, was about to get pinned between a rock and a Xin Zhao.
That's not a place you want to be.
No, definitely not. Very pointy spear and wind becoming lightning and all the rest of it. But as it stands, it's X7 with control of the mid lane. And not too much to play for right now. Baron has spawned, but I don't think either team really want to start up as yet. It would be a very risky proposition.
You know what both of these teams want, though, initialize? It is that Ocean Soul.
Yes.
It's going to be huge. Making sure that you can go in, make a pick with the Nocturne and the Ari, and then walk out, heal your HP bars, and then re-engage again with potentially another Taunt or another Fear is going to be huge for the sort of Bifrost. And I'm saying mainly Bifrost because they're the ones that have already secured 2 for themselves. So in a minute and a half, they'll be able to get that soul point that will get them ever so slightly closer to that Ocean Soul that might help them later on in the game.
Can we check in on Fury's gold, please? Because I want to see how close he is to that death cap completion. Because if that is available before the fight for Dragon, that will be a massive boon for the side of Bifrost, who are facing down a couple items completion on the side of X7 as yet. And were attempting to collapse here.
I believe the word you're looking for is observers. Can we please take a look at the goal?
Indeed. There you go.
There we go.
The magic words, there you are.
Very close.
200 gold off, so should be very doable, especially with the teleport available.
Not 100 gold. It's 1,050.
Is it 1,000? I thought it was 1,100 for a death cap.
Yeah, it's 1,000 feet. I'm pretty sure. Correct us if we're wrong, chat. Correct us if we're
1,100. I'm sure. I'll put. I don't. What do you want to bet on it?
Listen, I've
Donuts?
put bets on KDXL and I've lost all of them, okay? I'm traumatized, never again.
I'm going to look this up now.
Oh, actually, I've got another bet.
Oh, yeah?
I will talk about this
Okay.
with Asher another time.
All right, 30 seconds until what would be soul point for Bifrost if they can secure it. Chempunk chainsword in Shikari's inventory. There is the death cap completed for Fury. And Bifrost ready to rumble, but it is X7 who are out on the map first.
Ooh, look at bot lane though. Fury's TPing down on the map. They might be looking for potentially a flag. Shikari is almost mega now. They might be looking to try and punish anyone that overextends towards the bot side of the map. X7 are going to be playing for that dragon. They definitely don't want to give soul point to Bifrost. They know that 2 members of Bifrost have to walk through mid lane, but the fact that Fury has gone undetected towards that bot side of the map could mean that the flank works. What's problematic though is that Diamond Prox is nowhere near that dragon, so it's going to be 2 apiece.
Yeah, unfortunately, he got chunked out by an Ultra Shock laser that put him down to about half HP, and then with no wards, they just decided, there's no way to make this one happen. But Fury still off vision, is now spotted.
That is a very long lane though,
Yeah.
and he actually has to walk it out, but he has been spotted. So Fury spending so much time down there, expending that teleport, netted him nothing. Which means you're a teleport down and a play down, and probably a little bit of tempo from not having another lane shoved for the side of Bifrost. And again, this used to be one of our biggest criticisms. The fact that Bifrost do not control their waves very well, do not give lane assignments to their side laners, and this is due to a lot of the communication errors that we have spotted on the map as well, whilst X7 very wisely will take
Fury.
whatever is given for them. Fury might overextend right here, has his flash available, has the Spirit Rush as well, very
Slippery
cleverly,
champion.
very cleverly will stop right about there. As you can see,
around.
3 members.
They go, and there's the Paranoia afterwards going in. Stopwatch will buy time. In comes Viking, but Shikari's about to be around. It will be multiple solo laners from both sides here. Teleport now coming through. Diamond has to flash away. Attila can start chasing. Zeri online. Fury slowed by the Ultra Shock laser. Diamond just about alive. And no one dies this time. Teleport pulled. But Bifrost get out alive.
What's the guns on Oddie though? He has the Infernum, a huge Moonlight Vigil with Infernum could be really big,
Baron?
especially when X7 are all piled up. Talking about piled up, when you're doing Baron, you're all piled up into this pit. Watch Oddie. He has the sniper, he has the fire gun. This could be massive
This
for
is
Bifrost.
such a risk. How much damage can they do? The moonshot goes wide, down to half HP on most members. Chasey and Kasing looking to find an angle. The hostile takeover only lands onto Highway. Shikari now trying to half out flash for the Vanguard's edge onto 3, but the turnaround from Odie. Infernum runs running, but Chasey trying to play this one out best he can. He's blade dancing his way into the grave. A dusk wave claims his life. Diamond now turns up, but with 2 members dead and the smite down. X7 have to retreat, and Bifrost will find themselves a Baron.
Yeah, absolutely. X7 overextend themselves into a choke point, into an Aphelios that we said has Moonlight Vigil, does have the Infernum, into an Ari with all this AoE damage, and of course, into Highway's Tam Kench. Whoever you're trying to kill, he's going to save him unless the target is Tam Kench himself. X7 will lose 2 crucial members, including their jungler, which means that Baron is going to be free for Bifrost since they have Diamond Prox up. And if we see this again, you'll see that because Megana goes mini, X7 do find the timing, but Kasing's ultimate only hits Highway, and Chasey's season opening 3 hits 3 people here, but Viking literally explodes from Odie's Moonlight Vigil right there. We mentioned it with Infernum, and unless your target is that Tam Kench, the fact that the Kench is around to it, whoever's in trouble is gonna save you from these sticky scenarios. Bifrost finally find that one team fight to put them into the game.
Every flash got burned aside from Attila's. Like, that was the kind of every button being pressed kind of scenario.
I'm
And now
gonna be
Bifrost,
honest with you, I've never seen Attila being in danger when he plays the Zeri.
it's so difficult to close this champion down. But this is now giving Bifrost the opportunity to claim those structures that have been all over the map. 3-0 is Odie on this Aphelios. He's getting closer and closer to what looks to be an Infinity Edge. He's got a stopwatch as well. Viking will go in, but there's still a Devour. There's no easy way to make this one happen. Diamond Prox comes in, will avoid the hostile takeover with the use of his Shroud. And now Temp goes in, gets a shuffle onto Highway, and he will fall. Attempted turnaround fails. Fury will shove in the top side, and that will be all she wrote.
And that is tempo shut down for Bifrost right there. They will only manage to take that top lane tier 2, but whenever you have Baron, your eyes are on this mid lane tier 1 if it's still standing. The fact that there's an Azir and a Zeri on the side of X7 means there's a bunch of wave clear, so if you don't have Baroned up minions, it's really difficult to break the tower, but they want to break Chasey instead.
He's got no flash. He's going to have to find a really good flawless US, and it's not flawless enough. Smashed into the wall. Shikari gets it.
Yeah, Fury and Shikari pairing up really nicely. The first teleport towards the bot lane did not work. This one did work wonders. Fury has been way more proactive on this area on the map, getting towards the top side of the map with the Baron buff, getting that top lane tier 2, now TPing bot lane, getting the kill, pushing that wave. These are the champions that have actually left their stamp on the Rift when it comes to Fury. The Akalis, the Aries, the Silases, the aggressive, the in-your-face. In this game, he's making it work. 1, 0, and 4. The only thing that he has done, which is a mistake, is not buying the ring.
The ring is not in there. Somewhere out there, Nightmare is very upset. But Bifrost used the dregs of this Baron to shove into the mid lane again and try and set themselves up for what would be sole point. That mid lane turret still stands, though. X7 have defended that one tooth and nail and have done so successfully. Fury on the flank will just about not hit the charm. X7 want to fight this one, though. They're teleporting in, and we have a 5v5 brewing on our hands. Viking will try to go in, but the Paranoia is popped. The lights turn out, but everyone else is still alive. The charm lands on the Viking. Stopwatch to keep himself alive. The hostile takeover comes through, but the Inferno Moonlight Vigil does so much work, but the hostile takeover means Diamond Prox is murdered by his own team. It's cannibalism into a Shurima shuffle straight out of the LCK. A certified Zeri moment with the Ultra Shock lace to finish it off. And X7 will come out with a wipe.
And out of everyone, Attila still has both of his summoners up and running, because when he's on this champion, he's absolutely unstoppable. 6, 1, and 1. 3 items towards 4 into his inventory. A triple kill from this fight, and 700 gold bounty on his head. You said he had his fast available. That's because he never needs it, because he's never in trouble. And as we can see this again, Fury is trying to get from the side, but Fury dives into the pit, which means his flank is no longer relevant. Everyone dives into Viking, but Viking doesn't care if he dies, and that Renata ultimate right there means that Highway is going to lick Fury,
Tempt.
Dalaprox to death, and Tempt, bringing back memories from that EU Master Spring. This is amazing Azir play, setting up Attila for a triple kill.
For a game that was looking more and more like Bifrost could control it, Tempt comes in and slams him straight into the grave. Very appropriate considering the skin he is running. In goes Viking to the backside. The last time he tried this, he died. Fury gets a stun onto Tempt, forced him away. Fury continuing to dash, and Tempt chases afterwards. The Vanguard's edge lands onto 2. Devoured to safety by Highway. Now trying to push this one around, but still dashing around. Does so much work. Hostile takeover does his work in turn. Diamond Prox on the side, goes in, tries to go to chase him, but so much healing. The stopwatch afterwards can only get close enough. Trying to trade this one out. They cannot secure the kills. And Odie did not feel comfortable to step forward. Attila now is beginning to run rampant with the lightning crash running. Oh man, Meganar! That will be 2, a shutdown onto Zeri. And Shikari says, Tempt, I can do it just as well as you.
Holy, Odie gets a triple kill right there. It's literally the battle for the best AD carry in the league between Attila and Odie. And Shikari has been silent the entire series. Silent no more. Sets up his ADC beautifully for a full-man Moonlight Vigil. A triple kill, and Bifrost have solidified themselves back into this game after completely throwing it away. And I hope we see this replay again, because it is Bifrost overextending into X7 overextending, but look very crucially, there is no Moonlight Vigil right here on Odie. Odie does not want this fight. Highway, Diamond Prox, Gecko. Remember, if the Tahm is alive, his team members are not in trouble, but when the Tahm goes down or is in threat, that means that Felix cannot play forward. Diamond Prox dashes in thinking he can get the kill on Chasey, but Chasey is just too healthy to tank this Aurelia. Mind you, Shikari has not used Meganar this entire time. Diamond Prox baits people towards the wall to try and kill him, and Shikari with a beautiful shove. 4 members onto this wall means that Odie gets a pretty free, huge Moonlight Vigil with Infernum right there, netting him triple kill. And this is going to be a fight of Brazilians. This is going to be the front-to-back team fights from both sides. Which AD carry can dish out most damage? You were talking about summoners. Both Odie and Attila do not have any. And in a minute and a half, they will still not have their flashes up. But this is going to be sole point for Bifrost.
Eyes on Highway and saying one has the bailout, the other has a devour. Can they keep their superstars alive? 6 kills apiece to both these AD carries. Charm on the Tempt does a lot of work, but they won't be able to get too much more damage. Half HP is all she wrote. Shikari gets the tier 2 in the bot side. Both top laners trying to do what they can. And a reminder, everyone, since Viking has joined, X7 have yet to drop a game. Bifrost were looking like, honestly, they were done in this series after that first game. It was a whitewash. It was easy as you like to get to a 10k gold lead. In this game, it's been a slugfest. It hasn't been clean, but Bifrost have given as good as they've got. and they might be able to find the victory in this game.
And Bifrost has been holding grudges against X7 from last split, being able to decimate them in the regular split in spring and losing every best-of series against them in playoffs. X7 pushed them down to the playing stage in EU Masters, both making it all the way into quarterfinals. These were our two representatives last spring, and right now they're leaving it all on the Rift, because whoever loses here does not get another chance.
It's do or die. Our EU Master representatives from spring here in this first round robin, looking to try and secure themselves a step further into playoffs. Dragon spawns in 5 seconds, but X7 hold command in the river.
There is a bot ward in that tri-bush if Sikari wanted to pull off a flank. But at this point, when you have Aphelios, you can actually start tearing apart that Baron.
It's done. That's Baron gone. Bifrost say, fine, you get to soul point, we'll take the Baron. We can fight for the Dragon afterwards. Shikari's gonna have to get over the wall, and can they extricate themselves from danger? Fury gets a big charm onto Chasey. And yes, Fury is chunked out by the Ultra Shock laser, but he prevents any easy follow-up, and Bifrost trade well.
And Bifrost find themselves in the goal lead for the first time in this series. Netting themselves the Baron this time, they've been playing their side lanes much better. They've been using Fury proactively on the map, using him on the side lane. He knows he can bully tempt around on this Ahri with 4 items. 107 yet to die, Fury on this Ahri. And of course, you want to give the soul point over to X7 because you don't want your flashes Aphelios to walk into a fight. That's not going to be very beneficial for him. Now his flash is almost up and available. You want to keep him in a lane that's very safe. Have Highway literally glued onto Odie's butt just in case any threat comes his way. He can actually save him and then use that pressure with the Baron buff towards that bot side to try and break the map open. Right here, Bifrost, you'll see they're going to be pushing in that mid lane. They're going to be pushing in that bot lane. And then suddenly you can find a pick onto X7 or one of the towers falls.
Tempt at 4 items at this point. Zhonya's, Death Cap, Void Staff, he is very much online. We know what a level 18 Azir can do, and Tempt is one of the better ones we have in the ERLs, full stop. Diamond Prox is the split push option. Of course, he's got a very easy way to join his team. And the rest of Bifrost are either in the jungle or keeping this cannon minion alive as it is shoved in to the tier 3 in bot side.
Yeah, as you can see though, Shikari, Odin, Highway are playing sort of in between. Diamond Prox can really easily join, but how easily can his team join him if he's the one getting engaged? Mind you, level 17 Aurelia, level 18 onto this Azir, level 16 on Attila's Zeri, just spiking all that 3 points onto the ultimate. Same for Odie as well, level 16 onto that Aphelios. Oh, Fury
gets hooked, but will stay alive. And Viking, so close to dying, won't quite fall, will not burn out the bailout. Oni was down to about 50 HP, if that. Fury's ultimate was burned for it, but of course Viking has had a rough one. He's got a GA, but he's 0-4-3. He has been putting his body on the line to mixed results. Same with Diamond Prox. They have been the go buttons, and those go buttons have been oh so punishable in this game.
But it's so difficult to siege X7. Zeri's got pretty good wave clear. Azir has pretty good wave clear. So unless you actually dive them, which is very dangerous because of the Renata ultimate as well, there's no easy way to actually siege them. What you need to do is try to catch X7 off guard. This is what Fury tried to do there. If that was a 4 versus 5, maybe you attempt a dive or you actually pressure one tower that has less members defending. Now, you see Bifrost do not back off. They're still using their buff to try and continuously shove in waves. At some point, X7 might overstep. They might get punished. Talking about being punished, Fury does have his ultimate up and available. He sees a member overstep. He can actually dash in for the taunt and kill.
And that's just it. Bifrost have a lot of ways to pounce between the Abyssal Dives and the Spirit Rushes and the Paranoias and the Gnar hopping forwards. So many ways to try and punish someone overextended the side lane. Punish the Inter was the call. And honestly, it's been semi-successful. It's
worked so far.
Oh yeah, it hasn't been an easy game. By no means. X7 have had this game in their grasps a few times. Similarly for Bifrost. And they are the ones right now with map control. They are the ones who will be setting up for the Dragon, which spawns in just over a minute. we have ourselves a monumental, cataclysmic, apocalyptic fight coming up.
I was
Pick another
about to say,
objective.
I really don't think it matters who gets the dragon because it's going to be a huge fight
Yes.
for that Ocean Soul. So what matters for both of them is how they play these fights. And again, Vision is going to be crucial. Making sure you push in that mid wave gives you more routes to enter that bot side river. If you look at all the control wards from the side of X7, they're making sure they're not getting flanked. They have so many control wards into their jungle, making sure that Shikari's not going to get a flank, Fury's not going to get a flank, because when Chasey got a flank on that Gnar and broke apart the team fight, Bifrost lost in game 1 out of 1 flank. So right here, again, solo laners have been very proactive, shoving in together towards the top side of the map. If a fight breaks out, they both have teleports.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. They're going to try and trade this one out. Chasey is down there, but that's the inhibitor turret gone. They're going to back away. They've still got chance to teleport in. Eyes on the inventory of Odie as well. He's decided he's an 80s metal fan because he's going to rock him like a Runan's Hurricane if he gets the chance. So much damage on both of these star carries. Chunk out, and they're going to stay bot. There is the Shikari. Fury getting the wave control on that bot side, as you said. It is Bifrost who have better control of these sideways this time around, but it's X7 in the river first.
And Odie does have that Inferno for huge Moonlight Vigil as well.
Here they go, Fury over the side, trying to get on the Viking, who has been dead to right. Soul secured, Viking will dole down. Fury trying to do what he can already. Zeri gets one, Tempt gets into the backside, and maybe X7 can still win the fight. Can Odie stay alive? Yes, he can! Tempt will not survive as well. He's dead! A triple to Odie! And Bifrost even the series! They will not go down without a damn fight!
Odie dived in like a freaking Samira who started spinning on an Aphelios! He flashed into 4 members of X7 and Highway was there to save him. Shikari dived in to get that huge ultimate and Bifrost are not gonna go down without a fight. Best of 5. This is not a best of 3 and Bifrost are putting 1 on the map for themselves.
And X7's undefeated streak collapses before their eyes. Viking loses his first game of the organization. And Bifrost are here to play, baby.
We want a best of 5, meaning we want 5 games of this. So far, it's been a fight for who can carry the most out of bot lane. Attila was the winner of that fight in game 1. Odie on that Aphelios. What a freaking performance, man. Flashing in with Aphelios into 4 members. The team fighting, actually, the teammates like jumping in literally Shikari, making sure that he gets untouched. He was in the middle of everyone.
Well, well, well. I honestly thought after that game 1, it was dead to rights. It was an X7 3-0. Certainly not anymore. 1-1 the series stands. Des, take it away.
Looks like we have a party over here. Bifrost versus X7. First defeat for X7 in chat. I'm looking at you. 88% in favor of X7? We need to talk about this one, Desk. We need to talk about this one. Let's jump back into the draft. Nocturne. It was a weird one, and we were like, this is a curveball. But out of a sudden, priority shift from bot lane to top lane. And how does this affect the early game for you guys?
I think they just, I think they kind of just did what I said in their like pre-show.
Yeah.
They went for the scaling on bot side and just tried to match it, and then they went to top side and just tried to make chaos. And yeah, the Nocturne pick worked out.
We got chaos. We got chaos. We thought X7 was controlling the jungle versus them. Diamond Prox was getting denied of that farm to get that fast level 6, but out of a sudden, they got a lead and they dropped the ball.
Late game team fighting is really what this game came down to, right? You mentioned X7 dropping the ball early on. This is really the replay that kind of shows this. They overextend. They end up losing the fight, only getting a 2-for-1. I ended up believing, which in the favor of Bifrost. So this was really where they came back. They overextended. Some gold went over to the side of Fury. Some gold went over to the side of Odie. And those were the 2 main carries in these later game team fights. And let's just see it here. Odie comes in. He picks up a couple of kills. One goes over to Fury as well. So you get kills on both your main carries, and your opponents, they lose a lot by getting a shutdown over to the mid laner. Your AD carry gets a kill. This is exactly what Bifrost wanted. So when the ball was dropped, Bifrost, they took that chance, and these late game team fights, oh boy, were they interesting. And I do want to say, before I give it back to you, I predicted a Bifrost win.
You did, actually. You did. You're actually smart. I was not expecting that. No, I'm kidding. So the idea now, I want to talk about one subject that nobody approached yet, dragon control. So far, none of these teams got to the Elder Dragon point uncontested. None of these teams are willing to give that away. They don't want to flip that one. We constantly see that on LCK, LPL. Well, LPL is just flip it
It's LPL.
every single time.
It's LPL.
Even NLC, they're not allowing it. They're like, we want to take control of that objective. And so far, nobody let that one slide.
Yeah, it's kind of like these teams are thinking they are playing on patch 12.14 because Drakes have been buffed in that patch, and the priority will certainly increase. But the teams here, you can see it. It's 2-2 in the Drakes. This was the fight for the third Drake, so this is sole point for Bifrost in the end. It ended up being 3-3 in the Drakes. And talking about the late game team fights, I think it's important in this replay because it was simply up to the carries of both teams. Whichever carry stepped up, got the big play. Here, it was Tempt with the three-man Emperor's Divide. We have another teamfight replay as well, where it was Shikari and Odie who got that, and we'll look at that later on. But
Not yet.
it's
Not
very
yet,
important for me
okay?
to say, these late game teamfights came down to individual micro decisions, where this time it was Tempt who managed to get that one, get the big three-man Emperor's Divide, and later on it was Bifrost who managed to clutch it.
That's exactly what I want to talk about. The idea that so far we haven't seen X7 play from behind with Viking. We never went to the point where can they come back from a deficit? And we got this right now. Because did you ever see them on that deficit so far?
No, I don't think so. I think they've always been in a lead.
And we always forget about the idea that X7 is made of star players. So we got to see those star players right now.
Yeah.
And we thought it's impossible for Bifrost to come back, no?
Yeah, I thought so at one point, but I mean, they played team fights really well. I think making the combo with the Nara and Aphelios was.
You want to see that fight? I mean,
Yeah, show
take us to the next dragon and talk to me about this one. Merv, this is on you.
I mean, I think it's just a bit slow in the beginning. People are taking position, and then I think Nocturne ulting in here is a big mistake because he keeps giving Seri stacks on his ult. Or it wasn't activated actually, but yeah, now they just keep chasing into a Mega Gnar. They know he has flash.
And this is the
Then
point.
Oh,
Return of the
saw.
king.
wow.
Shikari is back with the Gnar. You cannot give him the Gnar. He was constantly talking about that. And even Aphelios on the Odie.
It's the follow-up as well, right? Because it doesn't really matter how good the Nara ultimate is if there is no follow-up. So here, it was pretty much perfectly timed. 4-man Nara ultimate into a 4-man Moonlight Vigil with the Infernum, which is the gun, if you don't know, that gives the AoE. So they're all grouped up together. They all just get melted by the great combo. And obviously, two of the remaining members from the Bifrost roster from Spring. So these two obviously have a lot of synergy and played together for almost a year now. And boy, I want to say, more importantly, Bifrost, their mental fortitude definitely showed in this game. They get behind in the early game again. And that could have been match point had they just rolled over and died here. They didn't. They went up, they took the place, they took the game to X7 and said, no, we will not just roll over and die. We will fight until the very end. And they got that win, and now they are back in this series 1-1. It could go either way now in my eyes.
And this is Bifrost. Even though they changed a few players from the roster we saw in spring, I know a couple of you, 1,000 of you that are watching back at home, and thank you for watching this show. You guys are amazing. We saw Bifrost at European Masters, and we were like, they're not going to make it. But we got Bifrost late game. This is a meme, and again, we get to see it. Even with changes in the jungle, in the support, you still think this is one of the top qualities from Bifrost, the late game Bifrost?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's their way to play the game. And yeah, it doesn't matter who you change. It's Odie is gonna carry a late game, and he's stepping up.
He's stepping